Hey and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I want to give you a glimpse on what it looks like to be on Etsy in the first 6 months of starting a new Etsy shop. I'm talking about how realistic it is to make money, how much money can you make in 6 months, how much time do you have to invest, and I also tell you things like how many listings I had each month and how much money I spent on ads, etc. You can also ask me any questions down below and I'm happy to answer them. Before we start looking at the numbers, I have two very important links you will find in the description. The first one gives you 50 digital product ideas for your Etsy shop, and the other one gives you 40 free listings when you start your Etsy shop. Make sure to check them out below. And if you're interested to learn all about Etsy and other income streams, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Let's start with month 1, which was basically for me May 2023. And I literally started on May 1st. I'm based in Sweden, so when you see my statistics, you will see Swedish krona, but I always make sure to show you those numbers also in US dollars, so it's a little bit easier for you to understand. So in my first months, I actually made 36 US dollars. What did I do in my first months? I created my branding. I decided on a cohesive look and feel. I came up with a shop name and I started to create printables, which you can download. That is my digital product. And I created 1 printable per day, so 1 listing per day. Therefore, at the end of the month, I had 30 published listings. I also ran ads. I started about 10 days into my Etsy journey to run ads. I started off quite high with $4 a day. I would say I went a little bit crazy. I think I wouldn't recommend that really, to be honest. I think I just heard maybe to start with $4 and that's what I did. And if you watched my in-depth videos about the different months on Etsy, then you will know that I also had to pay money rather than earn money in my first month. So what else did I do? I ran a sale. I experimented a little bit. Sometimes it was 24 hours, sometimes it was a 2 to 3 days sale, and I started quite high, 70, 60%, 50%. I also asked a handful of friends if they could buy a product of me and leave a review. So 5 of my sales were actually from friends, and I actually looked up the numbers, and on the 14th of May, which is 2 weeks into my Etsy journey, I got my first 2 organic sales. But I also felt that actually Etsy ads helped me, that people found my shop. So at the end, I didn't regret that I actually put a little bit more money in Etsy ads so people could actually discover my shop, even if they didn't buy something necessarily. I had 9 sales from ads out of the 23 orders, minus those 5 orders from friends. So basically those 9 sales from ads were 40% of my sales, 20% came from my friends, and then 40% were organic sales that month. Let's continue with month 2. I made a revenue of $137. You can see I had 1,616 visits, which is more than double from my first month. What did I do? I continued to create printables and published 1 a day. So at the end of the month, I had 60 published listings. I continued to run ads. I started off with $4 a day, but then went down to $2 and even $1. You can see I was still quite unsure about Etsy ads, so I experimented with them every now and then. And again, I run sales every day. This time it was about 50%, and now I really focused on 24-hour sales because they were most effective. I had 9 sales from ads out of the total 57 orders this month. So basically ads were 16% of my sales and organic sales were actually 84%. And then month 3, I made a revenue of $220, so it is growing. I had 2,170 visits and 89 orders. Again, I continued to create printables and published 1 a day. At the end of the month, I had 90 published listings. I kept running ads, and this time I mainly spent $1 a day, except over a few days. And then again, I always had a sale on around 50%, sometimes 40%, so I was experimenting a little bit more with sales, see if I can go lower and people would still buy. So I could almost double my sales, which is really great. And I had 6 sales from ads out of the total 89 orders. So 7% this time came from Etsy ads and 93% from organic sales. In month 3, I I also started to create pins to post on Pinterest. Nothing crazy. I don't think I was super consistent. I think I posted probably about 30 pins on Pinterest. And yeah, I think that was about it. And then month 4, I made $380. I had 2,227 visits, which is not that much more than the month before. I had a little bit more orders, but I actually made almost double the revenue. And the reason is that I started to create bundles of printables so that I could sell them a little bit higher. So normally a printable is around $2, and now I could sell a bundle for about $5 or even $10. And I also discovered that particular one bundle was selling quite well with Etsy ads. And at the end of this month, I had around 120 published listings. Again, I tried to be consistent and create one listing per day. And then the ads kind of stayed the same, mainly $1, and the few days I tried out $2. This month I had 11 sales from ads out of the total 96 orders. And as mentioned, one product which was a bundle sold more and more now, not only on Etsy sales, but also organically. And I forgot to say that when I started Etsy ads, I advertised every single listing I had. But then a few months in, I tried to be more strategic and just focused on the bundles because they were more expensive. It was basically worth it running Etsy ads. And when I made a sale now, the revenue was $5 or $10 rather than $2. And I started to have a bit more traffic from Pinterest that month. In month 5, which was September 2023, I made $448. I had 3,345 visits, and that's almost 1,000 more visits than the previous month. So something changed a little bit here. But in general, I felt like I had a slow and steady growth in the past month. I maybe just made $100 more than a previous month. And as I mentioned, there were 1,000 visits more this month. And the reason was Pinterest. I got more traffic through Pinterest now. Not every visit converted in a sale, but the traffic definitely increased. One of my pins on Pinterest started to go viral. So yeah, in this month, I still tried to be very consistent and create one listing per day. At the end of the month, I had 150 published listings. And I kept running ads, started off with $2, experimenting again, but then settled with $1 a day. And I was running a sale every day. And this time I experimented with lower sale between 30 and 50% off. What I also discovered is that some people bought more than one product. So that was a really great feeling because that meant that people actually discovered my shop, maybe found one listing and then looked at my shop on Etsy and browsed a little bit around and added more products to their cart. And that gave me a really great feeling because that showed me that people liked my products and the overall branding I created. I had 9 sales from ads out of the total 116 orders. Not much of a difference to previous months, but the revenue was a bit higher because, as mentioned before, it's bundles I advertised at that point. And my final month in October 2023, I almost hit $1,000 on Etsy. It was exactly $990 and the visits were 8,579. So you can see there was a really big jump in my visits. I had more and more traffic to my Etsy shop. So finally, there was quite a bit of change in my visit and also my revenue. And again, the reason was actually Pinterest. One of my pins really went viral and I got a lot of traffic from Pinterest. But it was also like a low ticket item. So it was just a $2 product, but still I take it. So yeah, in total, more than half of the visits I received this month came from Pinterest. At the end of the month, I had 180 published listings, including duplicates. I feel like I started a little bit late with duplicates. I should have done that much earlier because it just increased the chance of people to see my product, but also I could test a little bit with keywords, with different names of the product to see what resonates with the audience. And at that point with my ads, I kind of stuck to my $1 a day with a few days of exception, of course. So I had 10 sales from ads out of the total 252 orders. So my organic sales were still around 96% and my ad sales were 4%. But then again, Pinterest played a big role in my sales this month. And now a little bit of a summary and some tips what I got away from those 6 first months on Etsy. The first thing is to definitely use research tools. I used eRank and Sales Samurai, and you find a link to those tools in the description description down below. I think without those tools, it would have been much harder to find out what is in demand. And also the product, which actually went viral on Pinterest, was a research product on eRank, which showed me that there was high demand and a low competition. I also learned to try new things, experiment with the type of products you have, but also experimenting with the traffic, trying to drive traffic to the Etsy shop. But also I learned to really keep going and not giving up no matter what. Even at the beginning, the growth looked, very small. It is so easy to kind of give up if you don't see a massive success at the very beginning or at any time of your Etsy journey. I think it's better to really enjoy the moments rather than thinking I have to earn 10K a month from Etsy. And I also learned that you never know when maybe one of your products take off, and that could be really through outside traffic like social media, like Pinterest, or it could be through Etsy ads or also offsite ads, which I didn't mention because it didn't really play a role in my first 6 months on Etsy, but offsite ads will play a role later on in my Etsy journey, and it's a positive one. I also learned not to compare myself with others. There are quite a few Etsy sellers who are longer on Etsy than me and they're more successful, but also sometimes I discover an Etsy seller who either joined at the same time as me or is on Etsy just a few months and has more sales, and that really hurts, of course, but I really learned not to pay attention too much to that, because all it does really is it makes you feel bad, and also you might actually give up just because other people are better, and that's really not necessary because it's your own journey, and I think you really have to persevere and be patient sometimes. So the last thing what I will say is quitting is just not an option. So that's what I learned. I will just continue no matter what, even if my sales goes down or they keep the same. I will not give up on Etsy. I will persevere and will try new things. If you want to see the next 6 months on Etsy, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!